We're about to enter practically into a total war, and it could be without him. I'm practically never alarmist on this channel, nor do I talk about World War just as clickbait. But what the United States is about to do with its imperialist policy, what it has done in Venezuela, what it is trying to carry out in Iran, could very likely end up effectively in a conflict. In absolute terms, there are very clear theories and very clear possibilities that Donald Trump is currently betting on this way of staying in power. He was supposed to have 4 years left, but he's already involved in Venezuela. And now, as we are seeing the situation in Iran, he is about to attack that country as well. And preparations are already being made for it from the United States. If this happens, we would be much closer, I repeat, to a total war at the international level. The United States is still the United States. So stay until the end of this piece to find out how, while trying to help the Iranian people, they ended up actually hurting the Iranian people. And this is where we have exactly the reason why. It turns out that in recent weeks, there have been massive protests in Iran, which, far from calming down, according to the situation, are actually increasing. A very important spoiler. These images are supposedly real, and I try to get them from the most reliable sources. But you have to take them with a grain of salt because right now, we're all victims of a cognitive war. Iranian authorities are acting, but in this case, it's the collective West taking action. So what I'm going to tell you now is what is known and what has been most verified. But even so, we still don't have the whole truth. So if you have other information, please share it in the comments. We're all working together on this informational effort. This is the situation in Iran right now. The protesters set fire to a mosque in Tehran. That is, the protests have reached the capital itself, as well as an administrative building in Kermanshah, a city of 1.5 million people. In other words, we're talking about protests that, far from dying down, are flaring up again, very likely with the help of the collective West. In the western city of Kermanshah, unknown individuals also fired at security forces. And from what we know, the first burials are already taking place. Some of these security officers have died while confronting the protesters, and there are already victims among the protesters as well. According to Time magazine, the number of protesters killed now stands at 217. And this is where we are slowly approaching this total war, the entry of the United States into Iran, where Donald Trump assured that they would eventually enter. It's not known how, but most likely, first of all, in the form of airstrikes. The Islamic Republic ended up killing, even if it was just a single protester. Now, from what we know, there are already more than 200 large-scale cleansing operations have begun, carried out by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and the security forces in all major cities. With the use of firearms, the Tehran prosecutor's office warned about the possibility of applying the death penalty, according to the head of the department, Ali Salehi. Can people involved in damage to public property or clashes with security forces be sentenced to capital punishment? After the internet outage in the country, the number of videos in Iran dropped drastically. In Iran and from Iran, of course, but judging by what we have, it's too early to talk about a decrease in protests. Although there is a noticeable radicalization of the protesters compared to previous periods of protests, United States intelligence has concluded that the protests in Iran still lack momentum, but the assessment is being revised in light of their development. According to political analysts at this moment, the protesters' chances of success are below average. But if the United States starts bombing, it's very likely that Khamenei's authority could fall. Furthermore, the preacher, who is at the end of his life, is unlikely to flee from his people and will remain in the country until the end. An interesting fact on the Polymarket betting exchange, the probability of overthrowing Iran's spiritual leader this year is currently estimated at 59. That is, the situation in Iran right now is quite critical, but not totally critical or absolutely catastrophic. But the truth is that this could, in fact, be Donald Trump's plan. When it comes to holding on to power, that is, staying in office, staying in Washington, and therefore in the White House, Mosques are already being set on fire. There are people shouting that they don't want anything to do with religion in the streets of Tehran. We don't know if these are real images because in Iran there is quite a lot of respect for religion. But I can also understand that there may be dissatisfied protesters or even ones directly paid by the West. We can't rule out any hypothesis here, but we also can't rule out the fact that some of these images could have been generated with artificial intelligence. What times we have to live in, right? Because besides analyzing, we have to try to reach conclusions with images that we don't even know are real or not. I mean, we not only have to analyze the facts, but also what we're getting from different sources. And here is one of the points that I find especially interesting. It turns out that while trying to help the protesters, because indeed the Iranian state regime has cut off the internet. And from what we know now, this connection won't be restored for a few days. But the United States and especially Elon Musk have been very, very clever, reports Sky News. Western NGOs smuggled Starlink into Iran, probably other things as well. After the internet shut down in Iran, Elon Musk provided free access to Starlink throughout the country. During yesterday's unrest in Iran, Elon Musk secretly and imperceptibly activated Starlink throughout Iran. And in this way, Musk not only helped Iranians post videos on social media during the internet blackout, but oh my goodness. In fact, he ended up helping the Iranian government detect all the agent networks through the Starlink system. Yes, this is also possible, and it seems Iranian military intelligence had prepared for this kind of protest. It is not known if they were warned. It is not known, of course, they must have carried out the relevant investigations. In Iran, from the looks of it, they were much more prepared than in Venezuela. Either that, or in Iran, there aren't as many parties that could carry out a betrayal. I repeat, these are just theories about Iran. These are the facts. They received help in advance from Russia and China in the form of electronic warfare systems. These systems are capable of detecting satellite signals and calculating their origin. After Elon Musk launched the system, supporters of the United States and Israel claimed that there had been a massive communications failure in Iran. Now they claim that underground energy cells have been detected and eliminated. Iran through Starlink. That is what is being demanded from here on out from the West. And what is being asked in particular of their collaborators is to stop using the Starlink system, which was kindly provided to them by Elon Musk himself. Wow, it turns out they themselves have set a trap for their agents, a Trump trap. Quite a curious metaphor. However, the ones who are going to suffer the most because of this won't just be the agents, neither from Mossad nor from the United States, but ordinary civilians. Let's see who are the brave ones, the ones who will explain to the Iranian regime that they had nothing to do with any terrorist cell. The mere fact of connecting to Starlink, we don't really know right now how much that actually compromises a citizen or not. But in such a critical situation, indeed, absolutely defenseless citizens could end up in a very bad way. Because of the one we have right here in front of us, Donald Trump. Iran is seeking freedom, and it's doing so like never before. The United States is ready to help, signed by President Donald Trump. They are ready to help, and they have already helped a little bit. It's unclear who they've actually helped. However, this could be interpreted as a sign of this total war, because here we need to discuss another absolutely key issue. Recently, Tucker Carlson talked about this, and in fact, he expressed it in similar terms, meaning that it seems like the United States is preparing for total war. The thing is, Tucker Carlson didn't reflect on which country would pay the price exactly. Because the Middle East, in fact, is an absolute powder keg in this sense, in every sense. In fact, but when it comes to setting the rest of the world on fire, I think it would be the most suitable place. And because of that, Donald Trump indeed could have a free path to stay in power. So is the new military budget that they're now trying to approve one of the keys to understanding what's happening in Iran? That is where we are now seeing these absolutely massive protests, where we are seeing the Iranian population taking action. We can't really say to what extent is the Iranian population dissatisfied. That is, ordinary Iranians dissatisfied with the situation who do in fact exist in large numbers in Iran. We can't fool ourselves. But on the other hand, we also have countless agents acting directly under Western orders. And behind all this, what we have is the United States preparing for war. Donald Trump recently expressed his desire to double the military budget and increase it from 900 billion to 1.5 trillion. This, of course, could simply be the result of complex processes inside his head. But what if we assume he was serious? If he is going to push this idea through Congress right now, then he could very likely have some chance of success. In one case, if he starts another military confrontation, and if he does it around Iran, quickly, moreover, he has to do it, since the United States budget process is in full swing. Right now, with the direct involvement of the United States, Iran could end up receiving this final blow, and it's not really clear how it would end. Without a doubt, it would be far from a quick and easy ride. But with airstrikes, Donald Trump could get his own country and the whole world into a real mess. Within this scenario, Trump's direct threats against Iran in recent days start to make much more sense. Since there are no signs of additional United States forces being deployed in the region, this could indicate the possibility of a large-scale air operation, hoping that will be enough. Or following the Venezuelan model, not only that, but also doing it in combination with some way of dismantling the enemy. In any case, whether this hypothesis is confirmed or not, we will know in about a month. More or less until the end of January, more or less. Also, approximately not until the end of January. Does Donald Trump have? Because in the context of the United States budgetary processes, much beyond this date, it will already be too late to act. And from that point on, the war with Iran could no longer be sold to the world, much less to the allies within the United States, even to the Democratic Party, in such a quick and simple way. And in the meantime, to achieve this, they're already heating up the situation in the media. Iranian authorities reported that the internet in the country will be disconnected for at least 2 more days, which, I repeat, they're trying to remedy with Elon Musk's Starlink systems. Meanwhile, the heir to Iran's royal dynasty, Reza Pahlavi, urged protesters to prepare to occupy the central districts of the cities and hold them as much as possible. Move toward the city centers by different routes and unite the scattered groups of people. He also urged the country's workers to go on a general strike. That is to say, the United States has already made its bet. And the heir who wants to take the throne of Iran is indeed trying to prepare the country for a regime change. Absolutely radical. The consequences of this, I repeat, could be absolutely terrible, even ending in a full-scale war. That the United States, well, more than just the United States, Donald Trump would start not so much to take over Iran, and also not so much to help his Israeli friends. That too, of course, but mainly to stay in the office of president. Just like right now, for example, Vladimir Zelensky is doing in Ukraine. Thank you.